Hi, I'm Ray Traylor, CPA, author of True Riches. This video is about the tithe. There's a lot of questions constantly being asked about the tithe. I thought I'd give you a little bit of background. We've talked about the Old Testament version of the offering and how men realized they were wrong with God and made offerings to God, especially to cover their sins. And up until about Genesis chapter 14, individuals made offerings to God. But something really different happened in Genesis 14. Abraham had a skirmish with some of the inhabitants of the land of Canaan. He won a great victory. And the king of Salem came out. His name was Melchizedek. And Melchizedek was a priestly king of Salem, which is another name for Jerusalem. And he offered a sacrifice for Abraham. And Abraham ended up giving him a tenth of all of his spoils. And a tenth is another way to say a tithe. A tithe and tenth is the very same thing. And from that point on, there seemed to be somewhat of a shift between the ones who were making a sacrifice and who offered the sacrifice. Up to that point, men were making the sacrifices, were offering the sacrifices. And this tradition continued on all throughout the remaining time up to the time of Moses. And by the time we get to Moses, God institutes a special priestly class for the nation of Israel, and they're called the Levites. And of the Levites, there was another special class, which were the sons of Aaron. And Aaron was the high priest at the time, and the high priest lineage went down through his children through multiple generations. But in Numbers 18, God set aside the Levites for this priestly duty, and all the Israelites were to give a tenth or a tithe to their support. They didn't have an inheritance in the land. They didn't have a way to make a living. So that's how they were going to make a living. And of the Levites, they had to give a tenth to the household of Aaron, those special priests. So this new priestly class came into being, and this priestly class had some special duties that were very different from all the rest of the Israelites. And every year, the Israelites were to bring a tithe, and that was the support for the for the Levites. But every third year, there was a special tithe that was an extra amount, and that money and those goods were divided not only among the Levites, but especially toward the care for the orphan and the widow and the stranger of the land. So this was basically God's welfare program for the children of Israel. And if you want to find out more about that, you can read Deuteronomy chapter 26. So this not only was the tithe for the care and support of the Levites, but it was also sort of a welfare program for the needy among them. And this continued all through the generations of the nation of Israel. But as time went along, especially after King David and Solomon, Israel became very corrupt, and the tithe was laid aside. And as a result, the temple fell into disrepair. There was much corruption in the priesthood and also among the Levites. And at different times, godly kings came on the scene, especially Hezekiah in 2 Chronicles chapter 29, and he restored the tithe. And then later on, after the captivity to Babylon, Nehemiah in chapter 10 and 13 restore the tithe as well. And as time went on, once again, Israel became corrupt. And by the time you get over toward the very end of the Old Testament in Malachi, it was going on again. The Israelites they were offering in the temple, but they were bringing in a tithe that was not really up to God's standard. They were giving animals which were defective. Anything that was corrupt in any way, they would give that. And God intended for them to give the very best to Him. but they were corrupt and they weren't willing to do that. In Old Testament times, there would be so much if they were doing what they should be doing that there was a vast amount. They even put it into a storehouse. And we find that in Nehemiah's day and also in Hezekiah's day, where they were giving, and there was a vast amount available for the indigent, for the stranger, for the widow and the orphan. There was an abundance for charity purposes. But by the time you get over to Malachi chapter 3, God says, bring in the whole tithe, and there will be an abundance, and fill my storeroom, my storehouse. And he said, will I not open to you the very windows of heaven if you will be faithful in this? So God is a giving God, and he desires, as his people are faithful to him, he wants to bless them in order that they would have more and more to give to his work to accomplish his purposes on the earth. We'll have some more videos on this subject. You can check those out at trueriches.net. Many are available for free. If you click on the top right-hand portion, you'll find a place to register. If you're not a registered user, you'll have to register in order to watch these videos. Or if you are a registered user, all you got to do is log in, put in your password, and you'll be able to watch these videos for free. Or you can go over to our YouTube page at YouTube/TrueRiches, and you can watch these videos for free. And if you want to be notified when a new video is released, and we try to release one at least once a week, register as a subscriber, and you'll automatically be emailed when a new video comes out. So I hope this is helpful to you. May God richly bless you in all you endeavor, and I'll catch up with you a little later. Bye-bye.